Okay, let's see. All right, I think I'm live, and I'm not sure exactly how. Oh, hey. All right, cool. So I'm getting some notifications there. Hi, Sahali. Thanks for tuning in. Got about 5 folks in here. What's up, Xavier? Oh, fantastic. Okay, cool. So the chat kind of rolls through here, so I'm gonna answer questions as I can, but I'm gonna dive right in. Some of you may recognize where I am right now. I am on the Denny campus, and I'm in the quad. It's looking a little overgrown, but I think the grounds people are still hard at work. So, and I wanted to start here because today I'm taking you down to Longfellow Creek, and I want to show you a little bit about how Longfellow Creek is connected to salmon and also to the orcas of Puget Sound. So this week, if you're in my class, those of you who are online here from the class, we looked at a documentary on running the gauntlet about the salmon, and then we've also talked periodically about orcas and some of the issues around orcas here in Washington. So, or in Puget Sound specifically. So the reason why I'm standing here first, because we're going down to the creek, is I want you to understand that the creek is actually really close to us, to our community. And so right now, Denny, a lot of people don't know this, but Denny is a building that was built with a lot of green features. And all of these green features are in some way tied to things like hyphae, things like the salmon populations, and specifically to do with stormwater. So I'm going to kind of try and show you some of this, and hopefully it's not going to be too shaky. And you can ask me questions, obviously. So let me take you off the tripod here and start with some of the green features. So here you can see on the windows they have these little shelves. They're called light shelves, and depending on the orientation of the room, you might have light shelves on the inside or the outside. So this one up here is on the 2nd floor. Here's Miss Y's room, and she's got some of those same light shelves, and that's basically to keep shade in here if the light is bouncing around. Right there is my classroom and Mr. Gootz's classroom, and those don't have light shelves on the outside, but if you go into those classrooms, there are light shelves inside to try and reflect the light. So and then over here they're slightly different on the 3rd floor, because these are to keep those 3rd floor classrooms relatively cool, because they get sunlight basically all day long when there's sun. Okay, so that's the first part. Second part is these weird boxes up here. These boxes up here are attached to Denny's green roof, which I'll take you up there at some point with Mr. Clark. You need to have like 87 keys to get up there, but there's actually a green roof on top of Denny that is the first place where rain filters and also gets slowed down so that it doesn't rush into the creek too quickly, and I'll explain that in a few minutes. So these pipes come down the outside of the school. There's a bunch of them, and they go into the ground there. And let's see if I can find one. And then here in the bus zone, you can see they emerge. So right there is one of the pipes that comes down from outside of the building, and they come into this thing here, which is called a bioswale. So the bioswales are pretty cool. This is where the water collects so that it seeps into the ground, and the ground can filter it and send it into Longfellow Creek. That also kind of explains why these drains are raised up, because they don't want the water to come into the bioswale and then immediately go down the drain into the sewage system. Instead, they're there so that the water can fill up, and if it looks like it's going to overflow, then it goes in to the sewage system. So, all right, so that's how Denny's connected. That's one of the things that we do. We try and work on keeping the water from going quickly into the Longfellow drainage. So then the question is, does anybody know where Longfellow is? Anybody on here? If you're participating in the chat, you can fire away if you can tell me where the Longfellow Creek is. Anyone? No? No idea? Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to show you. So that's convenient. All along the bus zone, all along the bus zone here, there's this fence, and many of you know this fence as being the fence that students throw stuff over. Every once in a while you look down into the apartments there. I know some people get home that way. And then we've got this area here, which I refer to as the Denny Forest. And this forest is in fact a green space that is that highlights the first place where Longfellow Creek actually comes out.
What's up, man?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
I'm all right, man. How you been?
Not too bad.
Yeah.
Surviving.
Yeah.
We got our crew here. I'm live streaming, so everybody can see you now. Anyway, so right now it's totally overgrown. So there's a lot of blackberries, a lot of morning glory, but down there at the bottom of the green space is the first place that we'll see Longfellow. So let me tell you while I'm walking, let me tell you a little bit about Longfellow Creek. So Longfellow Creek is the longest creek in West Seattle. There's a couple others, like a nearby creek is Fauntleroy Creek. Some of you have probably been down there. It's by the YMCA. And Longfellow Creek used to start up at the Castle Park. So that's about, I don't know, maybe a half a mile from here. And the Castle Park is currently not much of a bog, but it used to be a bog. So, and a bog is just like a swampy area with lots of frogs and stuff like that. And one of the other crazy things, Westwood Village, this will blow you away. Westwood Village used to be a lake. Yep, it really was. In fact, in the, I think as late as the 1950s, the lake at Westwood Village in the winter would actually freeze over and you could go ice skating. And so kids that grew up in West Seattle back in the 50s could throw on their ice skates at Westwood Village and just go skating on the lake. And in the summer, that same area there, that same lake, was a great place to go fishing and catch frogs. All right, I'm on Thistle now. Let me turn this around. I'll keep telling you a little bit more. So anyway, they built Westwood Village just down the road there, and they paved over and filled in the lake, and then they put drainage pipes that actually go right under this road here, 25th, and they come under and across this street into the pea patch that some of you guys know. So here's the pea patch, and this is not quite the beginning, but it's the first place you're actually going to see Longfellow. But this is what's called the Longfellow Creek Legacy Trail. So you can come down here every year. They clean off this sign so you can see it. And today I'm just going to show you the Denny Creek area, which is right here. But in theory, Longfellow starts up here by Rocks Hill Park, or Castle Park as many of you know it. There it is going under Westwood Village, that red line. There it is coming out on 25th. We're going to go in right here and we're going to see where Longfellow is what we call daylighted. and I'll post a video for you guys later, but I did a tour with a couple of former students, and we went the entire length of Longfellow Creek all the way down to this point here, which is where Longfellow Creek actually gets to the ocean, or to Puget Sound anyway. All right. Before I go into the green space, I think a couple people had comments, but I can't see them all. Did you guys, did anybody have any questions before I keep going? No questions? Okay, cool. Then I'm going to keep going. So this pea patch, super great idea. Nice way to keep a green space in an urban setting. And it's surrounded by vegetation. Some of it, like this here, is called Indian plum, and this is a local plant. A lot of people yank it out and they think it's a weed, but it's actually really a great plant. We have some Douglas fir and maple back here, and then of course we have lots of invasive species like this blackberry here, which I love eating them, but man, once they start growing, there's no turning back. So the pea patch, great space in terms of what I'm thinking about today, which is the salmon, because what you can get in these green spaces is slow filtration of any water that comes through, and that slow filtration translates to clean water inside of the creek. All right. I'll stop talking for a minute. So Longfellow pops out just over there. I'm going to see if I can get into it and show it to you. I might have to avoid a little fence here. So if we were in school, I would totally walk you guys down here. But for obvious reasons, that's not happening. Okay, so here's something that's happened recently. In the last year or two, the city has come in with a partnership with environmental groups to build fences, basically to help restoration of the Longfellow Creek area, and a lot of people don't like that. So some folks have broken in here and torn down the fences so they can put up picnic tables. And I don't want to interrupt the people at the picnic table, but let me just show you what we got. So, hey, so this right here is literally the first time that Denny Creek becomes what they call daylighted. So this is a pipe that goes in here, and you can see that pipe goes underneath the pea patch up onto 25th, and then underneath what do you call that? Westwood Village. And then this is the first time you actually see it come out so that people can actually see the water. And this part is actually pretty cool because of the restoration work. This is the closest thing along Longfellow that we have to a natural creek. I'm not going to go all the way down this side. I'm going to go the other side, but I want you to notice a couple things. One is it's pretty rocky. There's little pools and stuff all over the place. There's one in there. It's surrounded by trees, which is kind of cool. And the other thing, which is maybe not so good, is that the sides of this are really steep. So I'm standing above it right now, and I'm probably about 8 feet above the creek, and it's right in front of me. So I could get down to it, but I'm not going to do that right now. Okay, so any questions so far? Fire away if you got them. Otherwise, I'm going to keep walking. Nope. Okay. All right. Sweet. I'm gonna watch the chat here as I walk over to the next section. So you can ask questions if you got them, and then I'm gonna see if I can find a spot to tell you a little bit about what's going on. So there's a lot of folks that hang out in here. I suggest that for any of you who are my students, if you come down here, I suggest you come down in a group, not on your own. Right now there's just high schoolers in here, so they're not doing a good job of social distancing, but they're not doing anything terrible either. So usually when we do this field trip, one of the things that we do is we collect trash. And there's not too much trash here right now, but generally people don't recognize that this is what we call a watershed. This is where water from rainfall and whatnot collects and then goes into the creek. And so people don't realize that everything you drop around here is going to end up in that creek over there, which is tucked away down in that little thing of sunshine. And a lot of the trash that we end up seeing is plastic. If you want to get fired up about an environmental issue, just do a Google search of plastic pollution, and you'll see what I mean. Whoa. Here's a great spot for the creek. Now you can see it's a little overgrown here. You can see the water down there. Doesn't look like it's moving very fast. It hasn't rained for a couple of days, and that actually is one of the problems that places like Longfellow have, is that in a natural setting, a creek like Longfellow is supposed to have a very steady flow. All right. If you hear me scream because I fall and hurt myself, don't worry. Hold on. There we go. Okay. Give me a second here. I'm going to set up so you can see the creek. And close your eyes if you're getting seasick. Okay. Out of focus. Got it. I'm not set up yet, so give me a second. Okay. So here's the crazy thing, is that Denny is literally right there. Like, I can see the building. And so most people don't even realize this is here. Let me get a little lower for you. Oh yeah, there we go. So yeah, people don't even realize that Denny's right up there and that we have this creek right here. This water is actually pretty clean, aside from a Cheetos bag right there and some other stuff. Yeah, don't worry, I won't fall, I'm good. This isn't very deep right here, it's just a few inches. But if you look up the stream here, somebody built a little dam. That's actually pretty good, because this stream, in the research that I've done, and I haven't confirmed this, but the stream in the original name, the Native American name of it, obviously wasn't Longfellow. It was Tawawi, and forgive me if I'm pronouncing it incorrectly, but and Tawawi basically meant that it was Trout Creek. So supposedly they had a healthy trout population here. This obviously is such a small stream now, you probably don't have a whole lot of trout. But what trout like is they like to have uh, changes in the stream bed. So they like to have like spots where there's pools, like this one over here and this one over there, and then spots where it runs a little faster. It just gives them a more varied place to like see, to go hunting and all that kind of stuff. Now, the other crazy thing, I think somebody mentioned beavers. There's no beavers here this far up the creek, so that's definitely not a beaver dam. Beavers don't usually use rocks. But if you were to go down towards the Dragonfly Pavilion, which is at the other end of the Longfellow Creek, nearer to the water, the Dragonfly Pavilion has some beaver dams and active beavers that kind of live around there. I have never seen them. I sometimes wonder if they're actually still alive, but you can see evidence of them living there or doing something around there. You can see the tree stumps and stuff. If you go further down the creek here, there are a couple of spots where you can see where different groups in this area different environmental groups have tried to fix up the creek so that salmon can come back. If any of you have ever been to the Dragonfly Pavilion in like November, usually it's right around November when the Chinook start coming back into Puget Sound. And the Chinook are what they call, what's the word? Opportunistic spawners. So they don't necessarily go back to the same stream that they were born in. So every year there's hundreds of Chinook salmon that actually come to Longfellow Creek. Now, they never make it up here. They can't get this far because there's too many things blocking them. There's more pipes that go under like the golf course and things like that. There's a lot of problems with the pollution that gets in here. But they certainly get in and they get up into the Dragonfly Pavilion and you'll see them. And oftentimes they go as far as spawning in Longfellow Creek, which is pretty amazing. Now the problem, and that's why I was showing you that stuff at the beginning of the video, the problem with the salmon spawning in Longfellow and the reason why none of them survive is because Longfellow Creek right now basically functions like almost like a toilet. The rain that falls onto the streets and the rooftops doesn't actually get absorbed into the water. They go into these pipes, and then these pipes empty into Longfellow Creek. So all that road grime and all the mess of stuff you see on the street, all the trash people throw in the street, gets into the creek, and when it rains, it flushes. This creek level will fill up, and it'll push all of the good stuff out, and it'll fill up with toxic water. And if there's any salmon eggs that have been laid, oftentimes the salmon those salmon eggs will get washed out and die, which totally sucks. Okay. Let's see, I'm gonna move a little bit here and have you see the other direction for a minute. So that's upstream. And this is, whoa, sorry. This is downstream. So that way is where the creek gets daylighted from underneath Westwood Village. This way, just down this way when you get to Holden, there's a little bridge, and a bunch of you guys have probably crossed that bridge before. And there's a ton of shopping carts that people, I don't know why they throw it in there, but they do. So people throw in these shopping carts, and right at that area, this housing development here that some of you might live in, the management company puts tons and tons of fertilizer on the creek. On the grass. And that fertilizer then washes into the creek. And if you cross that bridge down there, and again, I'll show you, I'll post the video of that we did a couple years ago. You can see that it just gets totally overgrown. So just down the creek here, you can't actually see the water anymore because there's so much plant life because of all the fertilizers. That is another reason why you don't see fish up here anymore, is because because you can't see the creek and there's lots of roots in the water and whatnot. I think I just saw one question that popped up about the bubbles down here. Now bubbles like this, they look kind of gross to some people, and it could be stuff from the roads. Chances are this time of year those bubbles are more because of the pollen in the air, and so the pollen gets into the water, and then it just gets, it looks kind of weird, but it's really not that bad. It can, if it's pollen, it's actually a good thing because it can feed some of the microorganisms. Okay, I was thinking that I might walk down to the bridge, but I don't want to drag this on too long. So I think instead I'm going to answer questions if you got them. And if you don't have any other questions, then I'll probably wrap it up. So if I missed your question and you want one, where are the salmon? That's a great question. Okay, hold on. So there's not a lot of trash down here because I think because there's just not a lot of people. But usually we get a couple bags full of trash just doing this walk when I take students down here. The majority of the trash comes from the Denny bus zone, believe it or not, and so that's because there's nobody in there, then it's okay. The salmon. Let me get back to that question. So the salmon never get up to this point. They used to, I'm sure. There's no record that I could find of how high up the Chinook got, but they get up into some pretty small creeks. And before all the development here, it would have been, this whole area would have had a bigger creek. Even though it's short, it still would have been much bigger than this, because that rainfall, instead of just going into pipes, every time it rains here, what in theory happens is it goes into the dirt, into the soil, and it slowly trickles down to the creek. And so this would be a lot bigger back in the day. So would the salmon come up here? For sure. In terms of where the salmon are right this second, the Chinook salmon that will eventually come up here are all in the ocean right now. A lot of them are in Puget Sound, and then in November, the ones that are about, I think, between 3 and 5 years old, will start coming back up to spawn. And like I say, unfortunately, if they come up Longfellow, it's unlikely that their eggs will turn into adult salmon in the future, because they get flushed out. Wow, that's depressing. All right, any other questions? Did I miss any? I think I saw a couple, but I didn't catch all of them. I don't play Fortnite. All right. So I'm going to try and end on a positive note here, because I think it's important to know that it's not all terrible, Chris. And so it's Longfellow Creek over the last 4 or 5 years has gone through a lot of restoration. Tons of people have been doing work out here. If you're interested, you should go check out EarthCore, for example. It's EarthCore is a local nonprofit organization, and they do cleanup of parks all over West Seattle. I believe it's EARTHCORP.org, earthcore.org. And I do that on occasion, and I know that a lot of students have done that too. So I'll put a link when I make the video, when I archive the video, I'll put a link down underneath. Okay. Why do people litter so much? Oh, that's a great question. I think mostly because they don't understand, they don't care. You know, we have a long history as human beings of living beside rivers, and since we started making small towns and even villages by rivers, what we've done is we've thrown all of our garbage into the river, and then the river takes it away. Well, when the population wasn't so big, that wasn't a big deal because that trash would end up decomposing in the rivers and into the ocean, and it just kind of added to the nutrient cycle. Today, people do that, I think, just because they don't understand. So they throw trash into places like this, and it ends up in the rivers, ends up in Puget Sound. And part of the reason why our Puget Sound orcas are listed on the endangered species list is because a lot of them die because they eat things like plastic bags and styrofoam, and those get stuck in their bodies. Wow, that was not a good attempt at ending on a positive note. So again, if you guys want to do something, I don't think they're doing anything right now, but you can definitely do your part. Like, if you see trash around in a space like this, bring a bag with you and just pick stuff up. If it's medical trash like hypodermic needles and stuff, obviously stay away from that. But like, I'm gonna pick up this Cheetos bag here in just a second when I leave. There. And I actually see another one up the stream a little ways, so I'm going to do that in just a few minutes. So I'll wait a second. Am I still there? Okay. Yeah, I'll post a link. Write your comments about how this could be improved or any problems that came up, like the lag. And yeah, we'll call it good. Thanks a lot for joining me, you guys. Oh, if you got any ideas, write some ideas as well, because that would be super cool as well. All right, catch you later, you guys. Thanks for coming. Oh, if you haven't already subscribed, make sure you subscribe and turn on the notifications. That way you can hear what's going on. And yeah, I'll talk to you then. Bye. Uh-oh. I don't even know how to end my live stream. That's why it's the first time. Okay, I'm waiting. Did you have a question? Bye, Maddie. Why do you think they like to litter in Longfellow? I think I kind of went through that, but I think people just don't think about it. They don't want to take the trash home. They want to just get rid of it, so they throw it wherever they want to. Okay. I'm not even kidding. I can't turn off my live stream. What's it doing? Oh, you guys keep asking me questions, and you're asking me good questions. How long do salmon live for? They live for about a year or two, depending on the species in the stream they were born in, and then they go out to sea, and they stay at the sea for somewhere around 5 years, 3 to 7 years, something like that. Again, depending on the species, and then they come back to spawn. And salmon die after they spawn. And spawning is when they swim up the rivers and lay their eggs. Great question. All right, still not sure how to end this though. Oh, there we go. Okay, you guys, for real, I'm going now. Thanks for joining us.